Ladies and gentlemen, if we could please find seats, we're going to begin services. Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if we can please silence all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Kerachem avabanim richam Adonai yireav. We learn in the book of Psalms. As a father has compassion for his children, so may Adonai, our God of compassion, for all the family and friends of Leonard Freedman, who we come here to remember this day. God knows how we are fashioned. God remembers that we are dust. Our days is like grass. We flourish as the flowers in the field. A wind passes over us, so we are no more. But we trust that God's compassion is everlasting. God's kindness to children's children endures age after age, unchanging. We begin our service by reciting Psalms, thus linking Leonard's life to our ancient tradition, to the Jewish people, and to the eternity of God.
Shir lamalot Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz Al yitain lamot raglecha al yanum shomerecha Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomerecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך, מעתה ועד עולם.
I lift my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? This is a question the psalmist asked thousands of years ago, perhaps at a time of sorrow like this one. And here was his answer. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, for your guardian will not slumber. The guide of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from harm and guard your soul. For Adonai guards you going out and coming in, now and forever. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo echsar. Bino deshe yarbitzeni amei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi eshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'gei samavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha mishantecha hemi nachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulcha neged sorarai. Dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya. Achtov v'chasidi rifuni koi mei chayai. V'shavtu b'veit Adonai leorech yamim. Those are the Hebrew words of Psalm 23, which is also known as the Shepherd's Psalm, because it guides us through difficult moments like this one. I invite you, if you'd like, to join me as we recite it in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In synagogue on Shabbat morning, we're currently reading from the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, the second book of the Torah, but it's already in the book of Bereshit. In Genesis, we learn that when a loved one passes away, members of the family come forward to share memories and reflections. And as that ancient tradition will continue here today, as first we'll call on Len's great-grandchildren, Sean and Sherry, and then after that, his grandchildren, Lindsay, Matthew, and Brad. Sean and Sherry.
Sorry. Broadway Bound, Love, Pup-Up. It was a note Pup-Up gave to me about 2 years ago with a newspaper clipping of a Broadway show that my school was actively performing. Little words on a ripped piece of notepad paper, but they meant more to me than anything. Ever since I was little, I knew I had my Pup-Up's heart. Whether it be my ridiculous intolerance to spices and a hesitation to try new foods, or the urge to break into show tunes at random points in public, I knew it was from him. I told Mum and Pup-Up about every show my school was doing, every role I wanted in it, and every role I got. I inherited his dancing feet and vocal passion, and it changed my life. I remember one night we were at a family dinner, with Mum and Pup-Up, and Pup-Up, unshockingly, paused the night to sing Maria from West Side Story and kiss the prettiest waitress working. I remember how embarrassed I felt, how bad I felt for that waitress. Now, I'd give anything to hear him sing Maria one last time. When I told people I had a great-grandfather in his 90s who was an entrepreneur, Navy veteran, and Broadway lover, many did not believe me. Shockingly, the Broadway lover part was the least believable until you met him, aka being serenaded by him. Excuse me. But bigger than Broadway to him was his family. The immense love that poured out of him every time he was with his own blood was palpable. Whether playing with his great-grandkids or calling for spontaneous family dinners and pizza parties, you always saw him glowing whenever he was with family. Thank you, Pup-Up, for the memories, the laughter, the joy, and for your music. Your notes filled the dreariness with melody, and your voice carried your heart forward with every song. Thank you for passing me your passion for performing and your love for every gift around you. If I'm ever bound for Broadway, know it was you who got me there. Thank you.
I wanted to say that for me, Pop-Up was someone who never lost his sense of humor. I distinctly remember on his later birthdays, I would kind of whisper to him like jokes about like different stuff, and irrespective of his current condition or the family's condition, his sarcasm was always present. I remember we were giving him a hoagie with Matt a couple weeks ago before I left for school, and he knew we were making fun of him, and he still kept the lightheartedness of that, and that was something I'll always remember him for. And we would go over, and I would kind of ask him about like the politics, because in his later years he'd be watching TV a lot, so he'd be pretty on top of things, and he always used to send me newspaper clippings of like what was going on in the current day or whatever. And a distinct factor, and my mom mentioned this last night, that we both kind of recognize is how liberal he was. And for a 99-year-old, you wouldn't kind of associate that, but the fact that he was probably the most outspoken Democrat I've ever met, and not to make it about politics or anything, but for being 99 and growing up where he did, being so progressive at the time, and his beliefs were outstandingly consistent, and I would always make fun of him for it, because I would try to poke holes in it and stuff, just to screw around. And he always was his understanding of the current political climate, and even he was able to like take jokes about it. That's something that I always valued, and I always keep the newspaper clippings he sent me. I have all of them, hundreds of them, in my room. So that's something that I always remember him for.
Thank you, Sherry and Sean. And now we'll call on Lindsay.
Thank you all for being here today. If you're here, I know that you've been touched by my Pop-Up in some way. He wasn't just any Pop-Up, he was the best. He was my favorite person. He was pure joy and love, and he was a legend. I have been so beyond blessed to have had 42 years with him, and to share him with my 3 daughters was icing on the cake. He exuded joy. Almost every day on my way to work, he would call me, and the first thing he would say was, "Lindsay, my love, now that I've heard your voice, I know that the sun is shining. You started my day off just right." Truth be told, hearing his voice started my day off just right. I will miss this so much. There is just no one like him. He made everything positive, and without any effort at all, knew exactly how to make you feel good no matter what. I felt pure happiness whenever I was around him, and I'm just so lucky. He greeted everyone he met with a song. Broadway was his favorite, and he would go to New York any chance he could to see a show. There was no talking with Pop-Up. It was just song. Some of my best memories are bringing the girls to see him almost weekly for our regular coffee talks. I loved hearing him tell them about life, his past, how he met Mum, even though we've heard those stories at least 1,000 times. I loved how my Pop-Up made an effort to truly get to know my friends, and later in life, my husband and his family as well. For years, my grandparents would take my best friends out for brunch at Ponzio's the day after Thanksgiving. I felt so cool being able to share my Pop-Up with the world. Everyone deserved to know him. Later on, Pop-Up and Mama made sure to build relationships with my in-laws and extended family, dinners together, exchanging cards, telephone calls. My mother-in-law doesn't just share her famous pizzelles with anyone, but knowing they were Pop-Up's favorite cookies, she always made an extra batch just for him. That tells you how special he was. One of the greatest gifts was witnessing the love he shared with my grandmother. He showed us and the world what true love looks like. He loved my mom hard. Now, don't get me wrong, he was still a dirty old man. He never missed an opportunity to throw in an inappropriate joke. The best was when I found out he had friended all my friends on Facebook And one of them sent me a screenshot of a story he shared of an almost naked woman. I called him immediately, and he had absolutely no idea he had done it. Thankfully, I had all his passwords, and I was able to delete it. He would flirt with every nurse who walked into the room and charm every resident he met. He was the man. But my mama will always be his one and only true love. Not too long ago, I was going through my drawers and found a folder he had sent me when I was a teenager. Pup-Up loved sending cards for no special occasion. He would mail, as you heard, newspaper articles or anything he found interesting and wanted to share. He sent cards to my kids just because. There was one quote he sent me that has stayed with me all these years, and it's called Attitude, and I just wanted to share a few lines. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And so it is with all of us. We are in charge of our attitudes. With that being said, I will take my sorrow and turn it into pure gratitude. You were my best friend. You changed my life for the better. You, Pup-Up, are my hero. While I know you lived 99 years to the fullest, it will still never be enough time. I love you, Pup-Up, forever. And I will end with a song he sang to my daughters every time he saw them, one of his favorites. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile. Pup-Up, we will smile through the tears. We will carry your joy with us, and we will keep singing just like you taught us to. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Now we call on Matt.
Okay, those are tough acts to follow. Grandpop, you made it to 99, and according to your great-granddaughter, that's basically 100. And to me, that's something to celebrate. You touched so many people during your lifetime with your humor, your care for others, and your deep love of life and family. There are countless examples I could share, but here are a few that really stick with me. When it came to humor, you seemed to be missing the embarrassment gene, which we just heard about. I felt like you were willing to do anything at any time. You had no problem being the loudest one singing happy birthday in a public place and then encouraging everyone in the restaurant to join in. You had no problem asking out waitresses for me or trying to set up your other grandchildren when you were younger. At the time, that was incredibly embarrassing. Actually, it still is embarrassing. And looking back, that was just classic Grandpa. When friends came over, they didn't just want to hang out with me, they wanted to hang out with you. You were the life of the party. I even remember one time during my college years, and this is no joke, we were hanging out in the house with friends discussing, not me, my friends of course, a gentleman's club, and you decided to rip your shirt off and walk around the house bare-chested, as that was completely normal. I guess you would have to be there or maybe not. Either way, it was a sight to see. People have asked me many times where I come from, why am I like this, and I point partly to you. But behind all the laughter, you were an incredibly caring person. I had the benefit of working in the office with you and saw firsthand how many colleagues, which are many here today, you touched during that time. Everybody, and I mean everybody, loved you. You were always there to consult with the staff. It felt like you and Mum were the in-house psychologists. I've already received numerous calls and messages from the BJL associates expressing what you have meant to them. You made everyone feel like we were one big family. And yes, my friends are reaching out too, because you left an impression on everyone you met. And speaking of family, we were all so lucky to benefit from your love and advice. We turned to you and Mum whenever we needed something, or even just someone to talk to. You shared so much wisdom with us, and your life lessons will never be forgotten. You loved us conditionally, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loved their wife the way you loved our grandmother. You and Grandma Marilyn were inseparable. You worked out at the gym together. You held hands while walking around the track. You even shared the same meals, and that's only half a meal, which was ridiculous. It wasn't just our family who noticed. Friends, clients, strangers would come up to us and ask, "What's the secret between the two of you?" I think the secret was simple. You adored her, especially her beautiful hair. Every family gathering somehow turned into you asking or really whispering to us on the side, "How can we honor her?" And honestly, we all want to be as good a spouse as you were. Grandpop, you've had a positive impact on so many people. For me, I'll always remember you singing Broadway tunes or oldies to the family. You enjoyed life to the fullest. And I promise you, your positive attitude, your humor, and your love of life has been passed down to your great-grandchildren. I love you, Grandpop. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Matt. And now we'll call on Brad.
You get to that age, you got to take the glasses off. So you've heard some themes that are rather common, and I assure you we did not crosstalk as we put this together, and all of you, I'm sure, can share very similar themes in the lives that you've had with him over the years. So today we celebrate the life of someone who lived it really, really well. Our Pop-Up Leonard Freedman, a man who left you with one unmistakable feeling, joy. Born before the Great Depression, Pop-Up lived a life defined by laughter, boldness, resilience, and above all, love for his family. He served his country in the Navy during World War II, built multiple businesses over the course of his life, and never seemed to slow down. Pop-Up measured his life in new ventures, new jokes, new performances, and new memories. He had a personality you simply couldn't ignore, even if you wanted to. God help you if you were in a restaurant with him. You know, sometimes we say you gotta laugh, otherwise you're gonna cry. In this case, when you were in public with him, you can either cringe or you could just join in the celebration. As an equal opportunity kind of guy, he would turn any restaurant patrons into a chorus. Chinese, Italian, American, it didn't matter. Nothing scared him except exotic foods. Another time he had the confidence to trade dates at a party, and this is even before Tinder came out, very ahead of his time. And somehow he ended up meeting the love of his life, Mum. And perhaps not surprisingly, their first date was at Victor's Italian restaurant in Philly, where opera was sung by the waiters. And it was there that Pop-Up revealed his very sophisticated palate when he ordered a cheese sandwich. Perhaps it was love at first bite. His dedication and love for Mum were immeasurable. Combining this with his personality, though, could cause some trouble. For instance, at his demand, we needed to celebrate a birthday for Mum. Maybe it was the 60th. And it was a surprise birthday party that he, of course, concocted and created. And one of the things that he wanted to do as her gift was present a plaque. And it said something on the lines of, "To the world's greatest tchotchke." Now, for those of you who are not in the know, this could mean, anything from pretty girl, apparently, to loose or kept woman. I'll let you judge on that one. And as we've discussed, Pop-Up loved to perform, whether it was telling jokes at the dinner table, sharing poems or emails at brunch, or delivering one of his famous speeches. He saw life as a stage, and his grandchildren and great-grandchildren were his greatest audience. He never saw himself as old. He only saw himself as alive. And I will tell you that going from the assisted living facility to the nursing home, it didn't matter where he was, into his early 90s, he would say to me so frequently, "Brad, these people are so old." And all I could do is, of course, plead the fifth. He was bold, he was charismatic, he was stubborn about tomatoes. He was part showman, part entrepreneur, part Navy veteran, and entirely devoted to the people he loved. If there was one thing he cherished most, it was family. The moments spent together, around a table, at a celebration, scratching off countless lottery cards. None of us won more than $5 for the record. Or just in conversation meant everything to him. He and Mum built a family rooted in honesty, integrity, a little bit of bravado, and a whole lot of love. For Pop-Up showed us that aging doesn't mean fading. It means continuing to show up, to laugh loudly, to speak your mind, to love deeply, and to keep performing as long as you can. So today, we honor a life that's fully lived. A life of service, a life of courage, a life of humor, a life of love. A reminder that life is not about the many breaths, how many breaths you take, but the moments that take your breath away. Papa, thank you for the laughter, the lessons, and the example you set for all of us. We will carry your spirit forward and celebrate loudly. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad, and Matt, and Lindsay, and Sherry, and Sean for sharing those beautiful words and reflections about Leonard. And they track very well with our conversation the other day, Laurie and Carl, as we spoke about your dad. And as we did, I couldn't help but think about how appropriate it is that today, as we remember him, is the second day of the month of Adar. The Hebrew month that the Talmud says, Mishenichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. When the month of Adar begins, our joy increases. It can seem like a sad irony then that we find ourselves here at this moment. Still, I think the Talmud's teaching provides us direction as we come here to remember Leonard Freedman. And that's because, as we heard and as we know, Leonard truly lived his life with a sense of Marbin B'Simcha, of increasing the joy experienced by everyone around him over the course of his 99 years of life. And of course, this was especially the case for his family, for you, Marilyn, his beloved wife of 76 years, his children, Laurie and Carl, and Sherry, Zichronah Livracha, blessed memory, and Ray, his beloved grandchildren, Brad and Irina, Scott, Matt and Rachel, Lindsay and Dan, and his adored great-grandchildren, Sean and Sherry, Shoshana, Maxwell, Gabrielle, Isla, Isabel, and Lance, along with many other family members and dear friends. I messed one up, didn't I? Ayla, excuse me. Ayla, my apologies. Though we are all saddened by his loss, we know that your memories of Leonard will always be a source of joy for all those who knew him. Leonard was born and grew up in South Philly with his parents, Michael and Celia, and his sisters, Gladys and Selma, all of blessed memory. His father passed away when Len was only 12 years old, so he had to help support his family. He did this by selling flowers and newspapers on Market Street to help make ends meet. He went on to graduate from Southern High School and after that enlisted in the Navy. He served during World War II in the Pacific, including aboard the USS Flint, which saw intense action. And Len didn't talk about his military service too much, so it was only recently Carl showed me that he learned about 3 medals that he earned: the American Area Campaign Medal, the World War II Victory Medal, and the Asiatic Pacific Area Campaign Medal for his service. Len served in the Navy proudly for 4 years before being discharged and coming home. And at the burial, we'll honor Len's military service like we do with the flag that we have on his casket. But what is clear is that we are grateful for his service to our country, which allowed all of us to be Marbin B'Simcha, to increase our joy as a country in a more peaceful and prosperous world. And when Len came home, his life turned towards building a family. This, of course, began with you, Marilyn. And Lori shared the story with me of how they met the other day, so Lindsay, you'll hear for the 1001st time, I guess. They met at a party, but it wasn't so simple. Len came to the party with another girl. But when he met Marilyn, he knew he liked you much better. So he got your number and called you to take her out. As Brad said, that was at the Victor Cafe. He ordered a cheese sandwich. She was from Olney, a bit different than South Philly, but they hit it off. They dated for a couple of years and were married on January 7th, 1950. And Carl, you shared with me a story that was done about Marilyn and Len from 6 ABC for their 75th anniversary. When the reporter asked what the secret was to such a long marriage, Marilyn, you replied, family, which was evidenced by the wonderful party that celebrated this beautiful milestone. Leonard, however, had a different answer. He said, most people ask us how you do it. That's a common question. What's your secret? And I just keep saying, smile. Together, you increased each other's joy over the course of your 76 years of marriage. And you both brought so many smiles and so much joy throughout your lives together. That's Marbin B'Simcha. After you were married, Sherry and Lori came along, and eventually they bought a house in Mount Airy. Lori, you shared many wonderful memories of your dad from growing up. You said that he was just so much fun. At night, he would come into your room, and instead of reading a book, he would sing. As we heard, he loved to sing to you and Sherry. You said that it could be any old song, but he especially enjoyed Broadway tunes. Len loved culture. He took you to Broadway shows, to the Philadelphia Orchestra, the opera, the flower show. And their modest means meant that Len had to get creative sometimes to afford tickets. So he would take a job as an extra in the opera, which would get the family into the show. He would do anything for you. And Laura, you also recalled how every Sunday afternoon the whole family took a ride from your single-row home to the fancy neighborhoods in Philadelphia to see the big homes. Then you would end the day by going out for Chinese food. And later, when you were 15, you moved to Cherry Hill, but the truth is it didn't really matter where you lived. Wherever you were, your dad made it Marbin B'Simcha. He made it fun and brought you and your sister so much joy. And professionally, Len showed that he had the vision and the courage to change course as the world and life changed. He actually started out first working for Marilyn's sister's husband at his butcher shop, and eventually opened his own butcher shop in South Philly. As the neighborhood deteriorated, Len decided to sell the shop and switch careers. He was in his early 40s at the time, so he started selling life insurance and opened an office on Kings Highway. Marilyn, you worked there too. He shared the office with Jerry Popper, and when he was ready to move out, Carl, you decided to move in and share offices with Len. He sold life insurance, you did accounting, and Marilyn was the secretary. But soon your arrangement became much more than just sharing office space, and you shared how it happened, and it's a great story. You said about 3 months into sharing that office, you had a client who was being audited. You told Len that when the auditor comes in, Len should sit at his desk with a newspaper open. And every time the auditor went to ask a question, Len should say, "Wow, can you believe this story? You got to look at this." Len played the part perfectly, distracting the auditor every time he asked a question. And this began a 20-year working relationship together as Len became a valuable part of Bagel, Joseph's, Levine, Firestone, and Holmes. He did deliveries, recruited clients, and helped process tax returns. What was even better than the business relationship was how it helped create an even closer connection between the two of you. And this connection also involves sports. Len was never much of a sports fan until you, Carl, introduced him to sports by taking him to Game 6 of the 1980 World Series, the game where the Phillies won their first title. That was the very first baseball game that Len ever went to. Talk about Marbin B'Simcha, increasing joy. I heard the second one was a no-hitter or a perfect game, too. He should have gone to all the games. I should have just given it to him. But from that moment on, in his 60s, Len became a big sports fan, also watching the Eagles on Sunday. Sports became just another opportunity for Len to bring his family together. In addition to his work with Carl, Len also had an eye for opportunity. He helped create a program working with blueberry farms in New Jersey, organizing the paperwork so immigrant workers could be properly paid and the farms could receive tax credits. He and Marilyn would be out there in the heat, setting up tables, getting forms signed, turning what might have been a headache into a system that worked for everyone. It was classic Leonard, practical, hands-on, and always trying to help people. Yet for all that he accomplished in his career, it is clear that what was most central to his life was family. In Marilyn, you and Len took care of everyone. Your house was always full with people, and you even let everyone live with you. Laura, you recalled how after Sherry and Ray were married and had their first child, they lived at your parents' home for a year and a half while Ray was in medical school. They were happy, and you were happy to have him there. That love and caring of everyone brought all of you closer together. And you really needed that after Sherry passed away much too soon. It was a devastating loss, and Leonard's heart was surely broken. Still, he made himself an incredible source of support for the whole family, doing his best to lift everyone up and help all of you once again find the joy in life. It is at moments like this where Marbin B'Simcha can be the most difficult, but when is also the most important. Len surely understood this lesson. And we know when we heard how Len was an incredible pop. Brad, you also shared one of the lessons that your pop leaves you with, which is to make life joyful, to find memories and moments, to be happy and to celebrate. And this is the lesson that we heard here over and over again. And Lindsay, you shared about how your pop was always so positive, finding that joy and happiness in life and helping you to do that too. And Carl, you agreed and added that Len was a wonderful jokester, and always reliable and dependable at work with the family. And Lori, you really summed it all up by noting how your dad was always there to cheer everyone up during the hard times and during the mundane, everyday moments. He just made everyone happy. Len truly embodied the central mitzvah of the month of Adar, Marbin B'Simcha. Throughout his life, Len increased everyone's joy with his love, his laughter, his positivity, his kindness, and his dedication to all of you. Throughout Len's life, he remained committed to increasing other people's joy, and by doing so, he increased his own. He understood this lesson of the month of Adar. And so today, despite our tears, we remember all the joy in what everyone here shared with Len over those years. And it's because of this we know that your memories will ever bring you joy and be a blessing for all the days and the years to come. We rise for a final prayer.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המסי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וצרים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת אליעזר לב בן מיכאל, שלח לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן, אמן.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Leonard Freedman, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. From here, we'll head to Locustwood Cemetery for the burial. And after that, family and friends are invited to Lindsay and Danny's home, 8 Tyler's Way in Voorhees, and there'll be a service there tonight at 7:30 p.m.